you guys again for sharing and for also thank you guys. Let's give it up for the educators here in the room. Yeah, like I said in the other room, we're just here to have a conversation, pull back the curtains for any like industry questions, anything audition related, agency questions, all the things. Just to give you a quick background on MSA. First of all, is anyone here signed, or rather, who isn't signed? Raise your hand. Okay, cool. All right, so y'all must have some questions. So at MSA Agency, we're a bi-coastal agency. I'm very proud to be a representative from this agency. We're the first agency to ever represent choreographers and dancers. We've been around for about 25 years, and we represent people like you, professional dancers, educators, creative directors, artistic directors. We also have a below-the-line design department, so we also represent production designers, lighting, all the things. And we work in all facets of the entertainment industry. So that ranges from print campaigns, live stage shows, award shows, recording artist tours. I think I said it, print campaigns, commercials, theater, anything that's safe, gainful employment, we are on it trying to get our dancers, our creatives on the job. So yes, a little bit about myself. I'm Samantha. I used to be a professional dancer. I did the do in New York, and then I moved to LA to do the thing there. Then my knees started cracking, and I was like, I gotta figure out what's next. And God is so good, and I ended up being an assistant first in the LA office in the creative department, choreography department. And then I got transferred to the New York office, which is where I'm from, and started agenting there. And yeah, you guys know Devin, Gheremi, Davion, and we're here for you guys. So whatever questions, let us know.
What's poppin'?
Yeah, we have one over here.
Just a small one to start off. What's a trait or characteristic you think a dancer should have in a professional space, whether it's rehearsals, auditions?
Yeah, a trait, I would definitely say professionalism. That's just like the number one thing as far as showing up in a room, in class, anywhere. That's also something that an agency would look for future potential clients. How are you showing up? Are you taking directions? Are you listening? When the choreographer is instructing or giving a correction over here, are you taking that correction and applying it to yourself? These things will also keep you booked and on people's minds. So that is something that's actually really important to have. I don't know if you guys want to add to that.
Yeah, I'll say, just to piggyback off of that, is being attentive. I think that one of the most important things about being a professional dancer is that you are a part of the spaces, but you're also helping create that space. So being attentive to every single detail, whether it be, where your marker is, and also some of the times where your partner's marker is, or the people that you're dancing with, just because then you start to gain an awareness, and then you collectively start to add to the spaces that you're a part of, which I believe is super duper important, especially within your artistry.
And to bounce off all of that, patience. While you're in these workspaces, we tend to think that everything revolves only around us because we are doing so much. So the one thing we would complain about is hurry up and wait, but to be honest, there's a lot of moving parts that do happen. So I think if you allow yourself to have some patience, I think you will be less focused on, oh my gosh, why is this taking so long? And then you'll understand everything that's happening. And then if you want to go deeper into whatever industry or field, you're able to actually learn a little bit more. Maybe you could take time and go learn about what light fixtures are used, or go learn about why, this person is working on the stage, or et cetera, versus just thinking. Because what we do is, it's a lot, but it's also just one piece of the entire puzzle. So I think if in my earlier time somebody would have told me about patience, my perspective would have shifted a little bit sooner. So I would say your patience, for sure.
And for me, I would just say your overall presence in general, you know what I'm saying? How you look, how you come into the space, your attitude, your personality, all of that matters, because you want to be somebody that we want to be around, you know what I'm saying? Nobody want to work with somebody who's difficult or who's boring or who always has an attitude, or just, So when you step into them spaces, just really be yourself, but be polite, be kind, enjoy everybody, be supportive, and just like always keep your look on point, you know what I'm saying? Because that's important too. You want a job, you don't want to come in there looking raggedy. Yeah, you gotta like put your shit on, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's really true. As far as what, also just to put it out there, all agencies generally work the same. So whether it's Black, Clear Talent, MSA, we all typically work the same. Agencies, depending on their roster, is what they're looking for. But across the board, we're looking for dancers that are ready to work, like fully ready. And along with that is having your look together, making sure you come in and we're like, that's a dancer. They know what they're doing in rehearsal. They know what to look like in rehearsal. Like today, y'all look great. But when you're in certain rehearsals, you know, there's not many auditions. There's auditions happening, but not like how it was before the pandemic. And so a lot of these creatives are casting in their classes. And so you want to show up looking like the part, looking like, okay, wait, this human looks like I could just pick them up right out of class and then boop, put them right in rehearsal. So take out the guesswork. When you show up to a certain class, a master class, make sure you have the look on point. And then when it comes to rehearsals, same thing. You know, there's usually instructions, usually like an all Black attire. But like, what are you giving? Are you giving like you just rolled out of bed, or are you like looking a little put together? These are things that matter. Just to give you a little inside scoop, I was working last year on the VMAs with the choreographer. We were looking for people to cast, you know. And when the dancers showed up, it was for Diddy's number. And this person was not giving Diddy's. She was like, she came in with like very like a hippie kind of thing, which is great, that's her look. But you have to do your research when you're on a job, when like, who are you trying to work for? And then show up and look like that, you know? She had to come in looking like 90s, maybe 2000s, hip hop, baggy, whatever. Like, she wasn't giving what the job was. So knowing your look, knowing who you want to work for, who you are working for, and aligning like the look to that is important. Yes.
What would you say the biggest barrier is between the dancer that's like just training and trying to get better at like just dancing,
Mm-hmm.
and the like professional world? Like, what is the biggest thing or barrier that someone has to cross or get over in order to be able to make that transition?
Yeah. I mean, first things first, everyone is on their own journey. So they're gonna have their own obstacles to overcome to get to that like bookable place. When I was dancing, it was my look, like my hair. I could not figure out what I needed to do with my hair to be noticed. So I've tried it all, everything and anything, I've done it. You know, the next person could be their actual skill level, like are they picking up quick enough? You know, so every journey is different. And what I will say is that just keep your eyes on your own paper. Don't compare your journey to the next journey. And really, like when you're in class, be like tapped in. Realize what you need to work on after the class. Think about it. Look at if you recorded yourself, if you get tapes back, what do I need to work on? What is it? How do you feel when you step into class? Is it your confidence that's lacking? Maybe that's what you need to be focusing on. So you really just have to be present while you're on this journey so that you know what your personal obstacle is.
I'll say something about that too as well. We got to understand that, like, I wouldn't look at it like what the barrier is, because I don't think there's a barrier between someone who's trying to work professionally or someone who's just doing it for fun or exercise, because your goals aren't the same, right? So if I'm just somebody who just likes to dance, or like that's my way of like trying to lose a couple pounds or something, then I'm just going for the fun of it, because that's my way of doing my cardio. But for professional, like, the dance part of it, yeah, it's important, but that's like 10% of the bigger picture. You gotta like be looking at what agency you wanna be signed with and why, choreographers, getting your pictures, your headshots, right? All type of stuff. Like, what's your brand? What are you selling? What is it that you wanna work for? Who do you wanna work for? And then once you do that, you kinda have like, you can write that down on paper and start to plan everything out, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you wanna dance for Chris Brown, obviously, like, you'll start to tap in, like, who choreographs for him, who dances for him, and then kind of tap into those circles so that you can kind of be, like, in sight and in mind, if that makes sense, and then making those connections, because it's really, a lot of it is about, like, the people you know what I'm saying? The dancing itself, of course, if you're good and you put in the work and the quality's there, and I can see the work effort, of course, like your quality will stand for itself, but I gotta connect with you, you know what I'm saying? So that's really it. So start kind of like figuring out who you want to be in relationships with, and then taking it from there, and then also building your professional side up so that you look solid anytime you present yourself. That make sense?
I'm not a dancer.
It's okay.
How do people make these connections though?
Just like going to classes, you know, taking those classes with those people, going to auditions, reaching out, send a DM. You know, like you gotta just shoot your shot sometimes. Like it's really about you just putting yourself out there. Or sometimes in different like spaces, we have like different dance events and stuff, like showcases, like Carnival or Jeté. Go to those, talk to people, introduce yourself, meet more people, start making more dance friends who know people that you want to know. Like, you know, have them. It's really just like a game. I hate to say it like that, but it really is.
Though.
It's a
Yeah,
game. Like
it
you
is.
just gotta be like, you playing chess for real.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So just choose wisely, but just know what you're getting yourself into. Like,
Yeah, and also, I love that you brought that up. You know, the networking behind it. Also, behind it all, like be authentic, because people feel like when people are just being opportunistic and like, you want to go into like, don't even think of it as networking. Like, look at this person. Like, I want to work with this. What can I give them so that we can be in relation to get to achieve the overall goal? You know, they want to put together a great show, they need dancers or whatever, and I want to be here with them. So what can I do for them so that we can be in relation, like I said? And yes, it's so much about, and it's any industry, y'all. If you guys don't want to dance, you want to be in like freaking computer science, I don't know. Like, it's mostly about who you know in any industry. Talent matters for sure. The creatives for dance and entertainment, like they need to trust you and that you can deliver their work, but it's really who you know. Someone who can't really hit a step, but they know X, Y, Z will be getting insight on certain things that the next person that has been grinding, they're not getting that. Because why? They're at these events. They're shaking hands. They're being human, you know? So that's how you would get out there.
Can you, I guess, can all of you give like us maybe direct feedback in terms of what you saw today, like what a lot of people here do want to be signed, like do you feel, like what do you feel like this group in particular needs to work on to kind of get to that level? Because we're not New York, we're not LA, so there's a bit of a barrier there for us, but what can we do that you saw today that can get us to that level, if that makes sense?
I can start this one. I would say for my class, and then I'm going to transition into Day-Day's class that I saw, it's about body awareness and understanding the storyline of the musicality that you guys are receiving. I think a lot of the times when we hear music and we receive movement, we want to execute it in order for us to feel like we are being noticed. And I think a lot of the times we need to notice ourselves first, because in having that groundedness and that foundation, that will trickle along more than you trying to press yourself to the front all of the time, especially in small intimate spaces like this. Like, we're not in a convention space, we're not in a ballroom where it's a lot bigger and you kind of have to pull your energy forward. This is a time where it is a little bit more intimate, and so I would say that is going to be number one for me. And then number two is like your physical awareness and usage of your body parts. I had some people asking me after my class just how I was able to do X, Y, and Z, and one of the pieces of advice that I gave them is understanding opposition within your body and also usage of what it means to support certain limbs in your body, so then you won't always tire yourself out and then you don't look small. Just because I'm a bigger guy, so I'm gonna always be like, dance bigger and use the opposition and stretch yourselves. I think that's going to be one of the bigger things that I feel as though as a whole we can work on, just so that we won't always feel so tight when we receive choreography. Because when I was watching Day-Day's class, he was speaking about listening to how she is singing, the cadence in her voice, the musicality, the way that the musicality is flowing with the lyricism and things like that, which are super duper important, because our jobs as artists is to illustrate what music actually is without saying anything. So if we cannot illustrate that, then we're not doing our job. So it's just about sometimes sitting and listening, which I saw a lot of, but I think we can just start to dissect a little bit more, and then take that at your own pace. So kind of piggybacking off of what Devin said, just it's going to take some time and be patient with what you're doing, but that's going to be like my few things.
well said.
I would say, I wasn't teaching class, but I, just because I'm on this side, I look at everything like, who's ready to work, you guys are in the rooms with 3 amazing dancers and choreographers. They got a lot going on. You never know when they have a project they need to cast. Maybe they need to come back to Maryland at one point because the artist is gonna do like a show and they're like, oh shoot, the agency or whatever, they need locals only. We can't bring anyone from LA. So like, did you guys do what you needed to do for them to remember you, to hire you? Like, did you show up looking the part? And again, this isn't a casual thing. I'm not coming for y'all. But this is what it means to be ready and like what people remember. Like, oh wow, this person's ready. I know now when I come back to Maryland, I could call this person. What if they just want to do a session? Maybe they're working on something when they go back to LA, but now they have downtime in this state and they're like, I need a skeleton crew to start workshopping stuff. Let me holler at some people that I met during this convention. You know what I'm saying? So like, you just like always have to be ready. And freestyle too. Like, I saw in Devin's class, there were a few people that really popped out in the beginning of the choreography. And again, I just want to keep on stressing that I know this is a casual thing. We're here to learn, but these are things that matter. Like at an audition, you can't just stay there before the music turns on. Like, you guys need to be hitting a little step and then even dance a little bit afterwards. What's your freestyle giving, that can save you a lot of times in an audition. Like, you're fumbling the choreography, which is okay. There's always rehearsal for that on a job. Everyone that's behind the table knows that. Like, okay, maybe we can clean this person. This is workable. But damn, their freestyle can really bring this show to the next level. So show that when you're in a class setting. Like, you literally never know when the next opportunity is going to come. Like these gentlemen said, patience, timing is everything. If you don't get signed today, you might get signed next month. You might get signed in a year. You just always have to be ready for that and making sure that you're always just making an impact wherever you are. Because that's another thing that'll get you noticed by an agency as well. The impact, like who do they know in the community? What is their energy like? And then that will transfer that gives us kind of peace of mind, like this is how they'll be in the room on a job.
I think it's important what you said, and it was intentional that Talani did not tell you all that Samantha was coming. Because I think it's an important lesson for you all to learn about how you show up and showing up as your authentic self. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think she felt that if she told people, first of all, we would get people that we've never seen before that really don't care about Vessel, who wanted to just show up because they knew an agent was going to be in the room. And second of all, you would be different already. But you need to decide how you want to be every time you show up.
Yes.
Whether somebody's in the room or not, it's about you. So I think that was very intentional. And thank you for saying that.
Yes, thank you. Like, you literally never know where the next opportunity, like even if there is an agent here, you guys have creatives who are living in like the most active city for like recording artist things and commercials and movies, and like, just always be ready, always be ready. Do you guys have your headshot and resume? Work, come on, that's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I mean with being ready. What if one of them were like, hey guys, actually we're casting for something, boom, I got it, there you go. That'll get you booked.
One thing I want to say too, overall, just, I got 2 things kind of, but first, just overall, just be okay with practice. Like, we take these classes, we get these notes, we do all these things, but like, if this is something that you really want to do, if it's dance, if it's teaching, whatever it is, music, whatever you're trying to do, you really do got to put in time to the point where you're a nerd about this. Like, you really have to, like that 10,000 hours, that's a real thing. And like, over my time frame of my life, I've been a nerd about dance my whole life. You know what I mean? So don't just rely on like the classroom as your opportunity to learn, or the session. Don't rely on the events for you to be able to put in work, or don't rely on being or not being in a place that's a mecca for you to want to create or want to. All of this starts now. Everything you trying to do to get your work ethic at a certain point, to get your skill set to a certain point, to get everything to a certain point, it really starts now. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna feel like you need to hit a reset when you move and when you go do things, because now you're about to receive more information. But then, to take me to my second thing, the one thing you don't want to do is lose all the work that you put in before, because it happens. I mean, it happened to me. I felt like I needed to reset until it clicked, where I was like, what was I doing beforehand? And how was I moving? What was I into? And once that clicked, my mindset about all of this shifted. And it became less about, is this person in the room? Is it? And I put in my work for me. And what blossoms from that is what's gonna happen. What doesn't, that has nothing to do with the work that I'm still putting in. You feel me?
Absolutely.
So I think just making sure, like, outside of your mentors and the programs and the classes, you were putting in them hours on your own, because ultimately, like, you're gonna be your teacher on this path. You're gonna cross a whole bunch of them, but all of your experiences, you're gonna have to dissect that and figure out, what did I do right this time? What did I do wrong? Can I flip this way? What did I learn from this? Did I not learn nothing from this? Is this my cup of tea? Is it not? And you gotta be honest with those answers, so that way your path feels a little bit more like unique to you. Because of course we always can hear like nobody else's path is yours. That's true, but then you have to realize, why is that really a true statement versus just something that you're used to hearing? Because it's easy to hear it, but then what happens when you're in that moment of this dream job that was right here goes, and then you look at everybody else, and the first thing somebody says, oh, this wasn't meant for you, and you're like, and you're in this, how do you get yourself out of that? You know what I mean? So all of those little things that starts right now. But then the other thing I was gonna say too is just don't lose the rawness. You feel me? Like there's a rawness that's also in the room outside of us having to work on little details from all of our classes, because all of us are pretty detailed when it comes to our work. But outside of that, there's a rawness that y'all have, and I'm from Indianapolis, so I always can feel the rawness from people before they get that structure and that training. That rawness, to me, is what helps create the star power at the same time. So learn how to manipulate that and use it to your advantage. You know, you are gonna encounter people that tell you, this might be too much, instead of the perspective of, okay, let me shrink down, or instead of the perspective like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You gotta be in the middle, and you gotta take what applies and then shift a little bit without losing yourself.
I'm gonna add a little bit to that because that was incredible. Love that. I think one of the most important things that I learned as an artist is what actual artistry actually means to me and what the definition is to the world that I decided to be a part of. And I've learned that a lot of it came from pinpointing and educating myself in different areas that applied to what I was pursuing. So outside of just movement itself, I know that you guys want to pursue dance, but there's so many different levels to dance itself, whether it be cultural experiences, environmental experiences, music theory itself. I went to school for musical theater, so that's what my degree is in. And so I'm able to apply that into any piece of choreography or any work that I am researching or appreciating, and I'm able to research that and use those educational purposes towards my own personal training and towards the work that I am pursuing. So I believe that it's extremely important for you guys to become nerds about what you are doing and beyond, because then you will never say to yourself that you were not prepared or ready to enter into any single space. And it's going to be such a gift for you guys in order for you to be able to go into rooms and understand what somebody is saying and understand the verbiage of when somebody starts to speak about music and the way that they speak about music, or speak in a specific way to where it's like, okay, I understand this body part or this style of dance, even if it is completely conflicted from the style of dance that you think it is, because it all draws from one another. So I say within your nerdiness, start to expand what that looks like for you, and don't just stick into that one box, because the rawness that we saw today isn't just in one box. So then you're able to like pinpoint so many different avenues, and then nobody can tell you that you can't do anything. And I think that's so important, because the moment somebody tells you that you can't do something, you should be able to show them that you can. Instead of just being like, oh, absolutely, I can't do that, so let me go work on it. It's like, okay, well, let me show you something else that I got in my bag of tricks. So just keep that in mind as well.
I know you said MSA what can a creative do to get on the trajectory to be noticed by an agency as a creative?
Yeah, so talent and creative are so different. And as far as like submitting and getting work, for talent, you guys, it's getting a package of dancers, sending it to either casting or the creative team. For creatives, it's you are pitching to production companies, and there's no casting sites for that. It's emails, it's phone calls. And so for creatives, they really need to have a strong package, a strong reel of their voice, their creative voice, to pitch to these producers, really. So that's the main thing, just making sure that you're creating and not in the video, but behind the camera, making sure that your choreographic voice is heard, understood, like whoever's behind the camera can understand the storyline behind it and what you can serve and what you can bring to the project, whatever that may be. Yeah, and just making sure that you're really making like concept videos. If you don't have any experience doing choreography yet, like professional credits, get homies together, set a piece, and just really make it great quality and start putting a reel together. And if there's showcases out here, submit your work so that you can be in showcases to work on staging and all of that, and just get all of that on video, great quality, and then submit away to agencies. And that's really how it's done for creatives. Yes. Yes, you can go.
Oh, yeah, sorry. It's kind of piggyback question to that, but like slightly different flavor. I know you mentioned MSA education.
Yeah.
So like, for people that are trying to teach and trying to like go the route of the whole teaching thing, like how does that work? How do you submit? How does one get to that place? And like, how does MSA facilitate that process?
Yeah, it's really all the same thing. I'm sorry, I don't want to sound repetitive, but as far as teaching is concerned, and Devin, he's MSA fam, so he can speak on that as well. He is talent. He's also on the education roster, so you can share like what you had to do to get on the roster. But it's also the same thing, like how do you show up in the space when you connect with the students, your package of materials as well. Yeah, that department is mostly in our LA office, not really in our New York office, but these are things that they do need to review in order to decide who gets on the roster.
Yeah, I mean, luckily, you know, when the department was like created, I was already signed like as a dancer, but beyond that, you know, not saying it just happened, but it kind of just happened. But besides that, you know, it's like consistency, you know what I mean? Like when I started teaching in LA in 2015, I was probably one of the ones that I was going, like all the time. At one point, me and my friends, I had a 14-day streak of 2 classes a day. Yeah. And that was just because every time, and it would be last minute classes too. Like it could be 1:30, hey, can you teach at 2:30? I'm like, yeah, I'm free. Yeah, I'm free. And at moments it was 6 people in class, 12. And then it just grew from there, you know, but it was just me being consistent because that's what I wanted to do. And it wasn't about like how many people was coming to class. It was just me showing up and getting my work out there. You know what I mean? And when I finally got to a place where, you know, like recording class and stuff was cool, was fun, and you know, I was training and whatnot, but as my mind shifted with my movement, I think how I approached my classes started to shift too. And then it was more focusing on how I teach and me like really honing in on my craft of teaching. And I think that's kind of what just kept me as a signed, you know, teacher, on top of keeping me within the studios after pretty much all these years. Obviously it's the same, like pretty much same generation coming through, but I've been through a lot of the waves of newer teachers in and out, you know what I mean? And it's like, it's just because I'm still consistent, even now that I only teach like maybe twice a week, but it's still the consistency, not just of showing up, but even what I produce. I got to a point where I stopped teaching stuff more than once, and I just would create and create and create and create because that's just what I wanted to do. It was like a challenge. Me and my bro, Jimmy Whedon, we literally will create something new a lot. Nowadays, I'm like, okay, I'll teach some stuff. I'm tired of making up choreography sometimes. But going back into being a nerd, I love music a lot. You know what I mean? So sometimes I can't not experiment with these songs, you know. And on top of that, just there are a lot of other styles that I have locked in within me as well. So when I'm just feeling spontaneous, I might bring it out here and there. So it's just a consistency, if that's what you want to do. And then again, the same way with submitting it, it works the same way. If it's one of them things where you don't have the numbers right now, then you get your people together. You get in the studio. Maybe the first time you do it, maybe you just film in the combo. Maybe the second time you do it, maybe you actually film your entire process and you put that together, and it shows how you teach. It shows how you break things down. It gives an insight. You can still put the combo in there at the end with music and all that, but it'll give the viewer more of an experience. You know what I mean? I got a few of my class videos on YouTube are like that, where you would get a little experience within the first 30 to 40 seconds instead of just video, boom, boom, it's done. You know, so that's how you would submit on top of that as well. But yeah, the consistency, you know, I think that's gonna be the most important thing. And then within your consistency, just make sure you are working on the art of teaching, because, you know, as we all know with everything, a creative could be signed as creative, but might not really be able to create that well. A dancer could be signed as a dancer and book all these jobs, but they might not be the most talented. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I just want I want my skill set to always be high. You know, it goes back into what he said. It's like, you don't want nobody to be able to try to tell you you can't do something, or you're not producing, you know, quality or whatever the case may be. So I would suggest make sure you are working on that art of teaching, whatever that looks like for you. Look at your teachers that you admire, you know, if you admire how they teach, if you admire their students, you know, that's stuff that I looked at. I stopped watching videos of teachers that I admired. I stopped watching them, and I would watch how the people around them are responding. And once certain things started to click for me, I was like, okay, this can get even deeper, and it can get even deeper beyond that. So, you know, that's my advice.
So can you just shed light on what you had to provide so that we know how to pitch you?
Yeah, I think, so, you know, on the dancer side, we talk about headshots, things like that. Headshot-wise, it's not as too critical for teachers because they need to see material us with classrooms, you know what I mean? So I do have headshots in my portfolio on the teaching side, but more so I have pictures of me teaching, like in classes, and then, yeah, just links of my classes and updated. You know what I mean? Like, at least, you know, me, I'm very terrible at that, by the way. But, you know, at least the updated stuff that is there, I can look at it and be like, okay, yeah, that for sure represents me. Versus some stuff maybe from like 2015, I'm like, I'm not even there movement-wise anymore, you know. But then even on top of that, try to have a few, if you dibble and dabble in different styles. That don't mean you got to go all the way with it, but, you know, for me, maybe something might be a little bit more freestyle based. Maybe something might be a little bit more, you know, linear based for me. Then I might have something that might even show, I might even pick and choose some of my choreography aspects that show my technical side as well. You know what I mean? So it's just having, you know, all that same material. Just make sure you're getting it in, make sure you're keeping it updated. Versus like dancer-wise, you know, we got to update our pictures all the time, and the reel or stuff that we're dancing in, or creatives, we got to update if we have our passion projects and keep sending those in if we don't have actual work that is a part of our portfolio, you know what I mean? So the more you're getting better at teaching, the more, you know, the better the quality of the content, you know, sending in. And good quality doesn't necessarily only mean from a fancy camera. You know, these phones cost so much money. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So if you got a nice little clip of your room, go ahead and send it that, you know, send that in as well, you know? But
I will also say too, as far as updating, like as far as talent, like yes, updating is so important, but if you don't have your updated material, your Instagram is also being submitted like all the time. Like I'm not even playing. Sean Bankhead's crew, they'll accept the traditional package, but they're always like, thank you, great, but can you just please send the Instagrams, please? Like they don't have time for all the other stuff because people are kind of like more active usually on social media. So if Devin, as far as teaching is concerned, Devin hasn't updated his stuff or sent his stuff to the agency, he's very on top of his social media. We'll just submit his Instagram, and that alone can get him a job.
And that's how I started like traveling a lot, you know. It's like my stuff was on social media, and at the same time these students was coming to LA, and goes back into what Day saying. You're meeting people naturally after these classes, and it'll be that one student that's like, hey, have you ever been here? And like, nope. I have a studio, I'm gonna hit you up. And then that's the end of the conversation. You might forget about it, and then 2 months later you get an email or you get an Instagram DM like, hey, remember we talked, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I mean? So.
And that goes back to what we said about timing. If it ain't today, it could be eventually, you know? So as long as you're delivering at a high quality, people will remember you and want to reach out to you. As far as talent is concerned, updating is so necessary. Just quick info about material, headshots. Well, let me ask y'all, let's make this a little more interactive. What do you think we need to submit to these creatives or to casting if you're gonna book a commercial? Like what is part of your materials? Like what do you need to show up to an audition?
You probably need a headshot, resume, dance reel, link to it.
Great, yeah, pretty much, yeah. You know, headshots, I would say clean background. Outside shoots are not really it. They're very distracting, so make sure you get in a studio, or if you're saving money for like a good photo shoot, get in, I don't know, a studio like this, clean background, and that could be your headshot for the time being. Making sure you're always updating your reel, your classes. If you don't have professional work yet, get some good quality footage of you in class. And we don't want to see everybody else in the room. We want to see you. When people have their reel and it's like all these people in the class, someone might just turn it off. They're like, I don't even know who I'm looking at anymore. You know, so making sure we know who we're looking at in the reel and making sure they're like powerful clips, you know, not more than 1:30, if that, you know. And just making sure you always have that. Your resume should be industry standard. What I see a lot these days, and it's okay, I see like kind of corporate looking resumes. That's not it. Entertainment industry standard resume is very different from that as far as template goes. You want to have the job on one column, your role in the middle column, and then the last column will either be the creative on the job or the venue or the network, depending on the project. And that's an industry standard resume. Do your research. Go on the agency website, see what it looks like, and then show up as that. And that's how, again, agencies know, oh, this person's ready. They might not have the credits. It's okay. We can help them get there. But they're doing their research outside of this, and they're putting in the work, and they're being a nerd in their craft. They're studying people. We can work with this. They're ready. Anything else?
I have a question about headshots.
Yeah.
So for headshots, do you want more like body, like full body headshots, or like more waist up?
Yes. So that depends on the job. So that's another thing of really being reflective of thinking about where you want to go in this industry. If you want to go in the musical theater route, your headshots are going to look very different from someone who's trying to book a recording artist tour versus someone who's acting versus someone who's a concert dancer. Those headshots are all giving different vibes. So you have to think about who you want to work for, as we said, and then make sure your photos are aligned to that. But generally, you always want, like, if you're looking to be in this kind of space, recording artist world, commercial world, always want that smiley Colgate commercial shot with a nice bright background. That could be submitted for commercials or print campaigns. And then if you want to book a recording artist tour, then yes, we do need the little given body in a nice fit. You know what I'm saying? If you want to do fitness, make sure we see how you look in athleisure wear. That'll be a body shot as well. But generally, like a 3/4 shot is great. And then headshots are just the general headshots. Yep. You and then you.
My question was kind of bouncing off of the Jonathan as well too in terms of creative. So what would that entail in terms of like specifically for the creative space? So like in terms of headshots, I know you guys recently said that headshots aren't like the most important thing, but I guess in the creative space, what else would you have to do in terms of like professionally sending something out to an agency?
To be a choreographer?
Yes.
Just the same thing. Definitely reels though, like video footage. Again, just like what we spoke about with his question, just making sure the videos that you're submitting, like you can really, whoever's viewing it can understand the story you're telling. They understand your choreographic voice. And again, if you're submitting to be a choreographer, we should not see you in your videos. We should only see your cast. That is it. We should see how you stage. How do you stage your work? You know, we just want to see what's going on in here visually. Yes.
Oh, right. Oh man. Okay, so for headshots, being an African American woman, hair,
Mm-hmm.
like you can have a headshot with straight hair,
Mm-hmm.
but that day when you're submitting it, like say somebody comes in and you're like, oh, can I have headshots? And you have curly hair, you're natural. Like, what do you guys? I heard mixed reviews on if it matters or not if your hair is the same in a headshot within when you're in person.
Yeah.
What's your take on it?
I'm gonna give a little example of my experience as a dancer. I usually, like when I was in LA, I had like a bob kind of going on in the beginning, and I just decided to change my look up. I went to an audition for a recording artist, and I came in with blue hair and a pixie, and this person was like, who is that? I didn't call this person in here. Like that was a completely different person that showed up in the room, and that probably cost me the job, like even interest. So if it's like, if you still look like yourself, but it's just a different style, it's not too bad. But I will say it's investing in yourself as a dancer. You really have to make sure you have shots of you in what you look like. So if you're that girl that's always rocking the braids, make sure you have at least one shot of you in braids. If you're a naturalista, make sure you have that shot too. You know what I'm saying? Have options for sure. And again, it's always about updating. But if you still look like who's in the picture, like if it's just like a mild change, like a length cut, like if you're going from down here to up here, that's okay. They'll know who you are at the end of the day. But if it's a drastic change, like going from brunette to blue, you need new photos, you know? Mm-hmm. Do you guys have anything to say on that?
Well, you know, back when I had my bob, I had to make sure that I was in it to win it, y'all. Woo!
Yeah.
Can each of you talk about your real experience, the grind? Like, can you sustain yourself in this business?
Yeah.
And how do you sustain yourself? And we've heard about, okay, you get a gig, it lasts for how long? How long have you been out before you get the next one? Or have you had the experience of getting booked back to back to back to back and have been able to sustain yourselves? Because, there are different stories, right? Some people, they get one thing and then they never get anything again.
Yeah.
How do you live?
Yeah, freelance life can be tough, right? At the end of the day, we're all adults and we have bills to pay. So there's this like unspoken thing in the industry, I feel, in the dance world specifically, like it's not cool to have a job while you're doing this dance thing. And that's like silly to me. Like you need a survival job while you're trying to figure this out. Don't have a big ego. Don't have an ego that's too large where you're like, I am just gonna be starving artist, which is cool, but like you still need money. So as you're going from gig to gig, and this is a roller coaster kind of industry, when you're having a low moment, what is sustaining your income, So making sure you have like flexible jobs, survival jobs that is getting you through the day to day. That's all I'll say on that.
I'll start with this one. So it's very different, like with dancing and then teaching. You know what I'm saying? As a dancer, 9 times out of 10, like if you book like a job for like a major artist or something that's like more on the SAG rate or film or video, things like that, you make a lot of money. You know what I mean? Your checks be like $4,000 or $5,000 type. But the thing is, you don't see that money until like a month later. You don't get it right away. So you're in rehearsals for however many weeks, and then the show days, and then once that's done, you don't get paid till like 30, maybe 60 days sometimes. It just depends on the job production. So definitely if you have a job, or if you don't, that's probably gonna be like something that you wanna think about, because you're not really making no money. Like you're making money on the job, but you don't have no money. And then let's say you don't have a car and you gotta like ride the metro or you're Ubering, you're just spending money every day, going to lunch, at rehearsals, coming back, still not making no money on hand. So dancing, it is a little bit more difficult. So I would agree, like, yeah, keep a job. Always maybe something a little more flexible, like a server at a restaurant or like a bartender or something where like you can make tips or you can have less hours and make more money. Not something like where you like have to be there all the time because they're probably not as flexible. So I'll say that much because I had to go through that myself, but I always made sure to make it work where I could find something where it's like, okay, bet, I can work on weekends, I can have my weekdays to train or to audition, do whatever I need to do, and then if I need to switch, it's easy to be like, oh, Ashley, can you take my shift today? I'll take yours Saturday, something like that, you know what I'm saying? But with teaching, I think that was like the game changer for me. Which is funny because I never like wanted, I didn't even think I was gonna be a teacher. I didn't try to be one, I became one on accident, if that makes sense. I was like going to take a class and they didn't show up and something in my spirit made me like say, I'll teach the class. And they like asked the whole class like, if he taught, we all stay, and they all said yeah, so that's how I became a teacher.
Yes,
Wasn't it at Debbie's? It was at Debbie's, right? Millennium? Work.
I'm so serious, like right hand up to God, like, and after that, like I was on the roster, and now I'm a whole teacher. So, but teaching is different because it's consistent. It's like a normal job, but like you have your days. So like I'm the same, I teach twice a week. But like similar to Devin, when I first started, I was teaching every single day. I think for me, I taught every single day for like a month straight, like a whole 30 days, every single day. And then after that, like from that time, maybe 2 months later, because of word of mouth, my classes were just selling out, like back to back to back to back to back. And then by then, like, I'm like, oh shit, okay. So I quit my job. I was like, you know, I was still serving. I was working at Johnny Rockets, but the checks I was making versus the tips I was making, there was no competition. So I was like, you know what? Boom, okay, this teaching thing is, but this is before pandemic as well, so it's a lot different. But even still, ever since then, the consistency of being a teacher and then having quality and then teaching good classes and then having good rapport, people telling about your classes, good word of mouth, and then they come and experience it will keep you a teacher, you know what I'm saying? So ever since then, like I've never worked like a normal job. So the teaching thing is easy because if dance doesn't work out, I can just go teach my slot, or I can always sub for somebody, or I can go out of town and teach a class, or come here, make like, you know, do a workshop, things like that. So that part I would say is a little bit easier, like as far as the financials, but still it all depends on like the support. Because if you're teaching classes and ain't nobody coming up, you ain't getting no money. Like, you know what I'm saying? You're not really making, bless you. You don't make no money if don't nobody comes. So again, it's the quality. You got to make sure that what you're teaching, how you teach, how you show up, what you deliver, and how people receive you is always at the top of your game. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can't just come in here. I don't care how tired I am. I don't care if I'm jet lagged or I stayed up till 6 a.m. When I walk in here, you would never know that. You know what I mean? Because I'm going to give you 1,000% the entire time. So if that is what you want to do, for anybody in here, you want to be a teacher, just know, like, you got 3 amazing teachers here. I know the quality that both of them give. And I know what I give, you know what I'm saying? This wasn't mediocre. This is special for us to be here at the same time and y'all get that. Yeah. So learn from that, right? But as dancers, yeah, be smart. Just make sure, like, you're saving. You gotta save. You gotta save your fucking money.
That's what I wanted to add to that. Like, when you do, Day is not lying. Like, when you book if you book a national commercial, you'll be good because that's residuals coming in. But yeah, sometimes there's a holdup on money. And, you know, if you do get one of those big checks, the 4 or 5K, you need to kind of get good with money, guys. Like, really, if you are great, but really understand budgeting, saving, and that'll sustain you in between, along with your flexible survival jobs. Just really owning in on that budgeting.
I'm gonna also say that, like, as we all know, dancers are athletes.
Yeah.
So there is something that is so special about working at a gym, working a front desk job at a gym, because not only is it flexible, I used to work at the gym Equinox, and I just remember being like a front desk person and teaching and doing a bunch of things like that, and having that flexibility, but also having access to the gym when I wasn't able to go to class because I couldn't afford it. And so that would be like my cardio or something like that. And so then, you know, looking for jobs that also have different assets and different rewards for you that'll help really push the career that you're looking for. Because like Day, when I came out here, I didn't necessarily think like, oh, I'm gonna teach per se, and now I'm teaching in 2 colleges, and I'm like, okay, this is sustainable for now. And even then, it's just like the amount of money that you get in those institutions, do they equate to a lot of the stuff that you might get on a job? Not all the time. But that sustainability, really checking to make sure that you are saving your money and being smart with it, because you can't always go to class. Let's just be honest. Class is getting more and more expensive. Yeah, like a few years ago, class was not $22, and now it's getting there. So it's becoming a lot more difficult to even show up for that, because that $22 can be your groceries. So a lot of the times it's like, what are different ways? Like, trust me, I'd rather go to Trader Joe's than spend my money for an hour and a half, okay? I want to make sure I can eat for the week. But it's just certain things like that where as you guys start to continue on with your dance journey, like understanding where your sustainability comes from and how you can truly utilize it to then create longevity, and then boom, when the time actually comes for you, you'll actually be ready. Because oftentimes I find, no matter what professionalism you may have acquired within your career, that there's still so much more that you want to do. Like, there are so many of my professional dance friends who still have roommates. And I know everybody's dream is to live alone, but some of the times money don't come the way that we want it to come. So just being able to stack and like look at your livelihood, and not just always look at the right now, but look at where you want to go, and then finding that connection, you'll be good. Trust and believe. It's going to take some time, but you'll get there.
And since we was talking about the grind too, I got nothing to do with money because they touched all of that. All I will say is be okay with the fact that like a lot of, this is just keeping it real, a lot of y'all dream jobs y'all want to do might not happen. Like you might have an artist that you like been since you was 10 watching, like boom. It might not happen, but you can't let you chasing this entire thing and you wanting to do this, you can't just bank it on that. You know what I'm saying? Because yeah, that's gonna be it's a disappointing thing to come to peace with. You know what I mean? Like, because then maybe when you come to peace with it, then it might happen. I mean, that happened with me with Chris. And my brain never was gonna dance for him for a multitude of reasons. And I came at peace with that, and it was cool. Like, it wasn't nothing like, I ain't never dancing his music. Like, nah, like, it's just, it's what it is, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, it's cool. And the next thing you know, I was able to do one of the videos. And that brought me back to the kid feeling of like, oh, this was dope. The fact that I didn't give up on my entire dream based off that, the reality of that might happen. And it just might happen because that's just how it be. Camps might be locked in, your height might be this, whatever, you know what I'm saying? And that might keep you from doing certain dream jobs. But if you come to peace with that, like, there's more out there for you other than just that one thing, then you won't even be so focused on that to where when that does circle back around, you're like, oh, okay. But I know a lot of times we go out there and we got these like aspirations and we just like our mind is focused on that. And then that's what it is. And it's just like they said, they wasn't even thinking about, you know, teaching. When I moved to California, I moved for the weather. I knew dance would happen, but like I took a visit there and was like, yeah, I'm gonna come back. And then, you know, I let whatever happen, you know what I mean? Like, and I did, my mind went into dancer mode, you know, I stopped creating choreo, all that, and then I was like, oh, let me get with the friends again and just start making up things, and then, you know, teaching happened. So it's like other avenues and other lanes will open up for you, but, you know, anything that's like your top goals, just be okay with like, it could possibly not happen, and that's cool. Like, you still got so much more to accomplish and get done, you know what I mean? Like, that's it for me.
I'll also say too, as far as the grind is concerned, like once you are assigned working dancer, just making sure that you're super organized, because while you're in between jobs, you are going to be getting emails and calls from your agent like, hey, you have an audition here, and that same day you're going to have to film a self-tape, and then last minute you have another self-tape that you have to do, or you have to be elsewhere. So making sure that, again, that you're organized, always having your stuff on hand if you do hear from your agent and you need to be somewhere last minute, making sure that you have a phone charger so that you are available and can respond, whether it's a confirm or decline. So that is also important when you're in the grind, just making sure that you're super organized, because once you're on that go, when things are just kind of going crazy, and it's so weird, like sometimes it all happens at once, and it's like, what? I had a dry season and now everything is literally happening at the same time. In those moments, you have to get a planner, make sure that everything is organized, because again, that's how, If you show up flustered in a room, everyone's gonna feel that, and then who knows if that can tarnish your reputation, or just they might not use you in the next time. If you can handle all of that with grace and then not feel stressed yourself, it'll be such an easier ride when you're in that grind.
All right, we gotta wrap it up. You got a burning question, Jonathan?
It's really quick.
Okay, great.
Maybe not, I don't know.
Last question, we gotta wrap it
Okay,
up.
like, just longevity as a creative, right? Because, like, living in a space, or existing in a space, where many people, or, like, many of the masses are not necessarily following the quality, but, like, trends, how are you able to remain authentic to who you are as an artist without compromising for meeting a trend's sake, you know, just so that you can make sure that people are filling out your role?
Because I'm creating for me.
Exactly.
I could care less what I got going on. You know what I mean? I'm creating this for me. Naturally, as an artist, there always will be those things of like, do I want to put this out? Because that's just a natural thing. It's just like nerves before you go on stage. But all of my ideas, all of my creations, class or not, this is for me. So when I look back on this, this is what I used to do. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I sustain it for me
I
personally.
also say too, like making sure you have a good support, like a good support system or circle. Like, know who your real friends are that really can get you grounded and remind you who you are when you're having a moment. Do you know you can do this? You're bugging right now. You know what I mean? Making sure that you have that community can definitely help those moments.
Yeah, there's always going to be an opinion floating around. You know, everybody has an opinion, and art is subjective. So I could create something and 50 people could not like it. I don't care. Like, that's cool. There's 100 who do. So, you know, you can't really worry about what's going on. And sometimes, I mean, I'm in the middle. Sometimes, hey, maybe a trend might be fun. Maybe you can take the trend and make it real creative, and next thing you know, it's like, boom. You know what I mean? Who knows, you know? But, you know, I just accept everything for what it is. Everything has its purpose. The trends, the foundation, the OGs, the newbies, everybody really has a place in this whole pot, you know? So once we stop clashing all the time, you know, everything could be smooth.
I just want to say one real quick thing about training, y'all. Make sure to keep on training, but please remember to be in foundational classes. Like, don't forget that aspect. Be in the popping classes, be in locking, be in the dance hall classes, because this is gonna show up when you're in a choreography class. Like, y'all can already hit a step and retain. That's fine. Still work on that to be polished when you do get auditions. But also, when you know who you are as a person, as a dancer, that's how you show up in the room in an audition when it's time to freestyle, because you know your body, you know what you can do. And it'll also just bring your dance to another level too. Like, when these creatives are teaching, they're teaching from a specific like foundation. They've excelled in that, they've mastered that. So if they're doing a glide, that's because they've been drilling those foundations, you know? So that's key. Remember to implement that in your training. I'm very passionate about freestyle, so please don't forget that part of it.
From New York.
New York, we love
That's
it.
that New York.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.